Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 64. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys are back with us here. Steelers Nation, and a very happy new year to everybody listening, and a happy new year to you as well. Dave, here's hoping 2021 is better than 2020. A low bar to clear, but we'll see if we can do it.
Yeah, look, I mean, overall, with the COVID, what a strange year it's been. I know you and I are very thankful though for the year that we've had with the site, and I mean, obviously we hit some all-time highs as well too. So we appreciate all the support that people have given us during this really weird year. If you would have told me a year ago that we would have went through what we went through, with the COVID situation in the sports world specifically within that, I wouldn't have believed you. But hopefully, with the vaccine now out and all like that, hopefully the tide will start turning here pretty soon. And happy New Year to you. I appreciate you.
All right, Dave, let's start off today's show, again, previewing the Steelers' final game of the regular season, Week 17 at Cleveland. We'll start with the injury report here. I guess just my quick COVID note, since you mentioned it. The Browns facility, I think, is opening today. There were reportedly no new positive COVID cases there. So I think this game will get played Sunday at 1 o'clock. Obviously, everything is still always subject to change, but I get the feeling we're not going to have a Tennessee or Baltimore, type situation going on this weekend.
Lord, makes you you probably not old enough, or you're probably not old enough to remember Charlie Brown, huh? and
what are you doing, like picking the football and missing or something?
No, the old pig pen. Always had that cloud hanging everywhere he went. It's like a cloud of dust and dirt and all around him. It almost seems like when it comes to this COVID thing, especially specifically with the NFL, anytime there's an outbreak or something like that, the Steelers are on the other side of it, and hopefully, according to a report by Ian Rappaport this morning, the Browns had no new positive COVID results today, and hopefully they'll be able to get things back going that way. Now they're going to obviously have a few guys, I think, miss the game that got put on the COVID list this week. We'll go over those in a little bit here. But as far as the Steelers injury report goes, looking pretty good, except for maybe one person. I think the big news on Thursday was that Chris Boswell did not practice with his groin injury after working full on Wednesday there. We'll obviously see if that was by design or if there's something to that later on today when the Friday injury report gets released. Obviously, if he does not practice on Friday, it's hard to imagine him, kicking in a meaningless game per se, if you will, on Sunday against the Browns there. So that's probably the biggest one to watch. Everybody else except for, let's see here, Terrell Edmunds with the shoulder, that's one to watch. Marquise Pouncey did not practice. Ben Roethlisberger did not practice. T.J. Watt did not practice. Those guys are not injury related. Those are some of the early ones. We'll see about Edmunds. I don't know what you would classify Edmunds as at this point, but the two with injuries I think to watch at this point going into Friday afternoon are Chris Boswell, obviously with the groin, and Terrell Edmunds with the shoulder there. The good news is the two other guys that missed the game against the Colts because of injuries, Ola Adeniyi and Marcus Allen, both practiced full both days this week. They look to be ready to come back against the Browns.
And Keith Butler basically said as much talking to the media. Yeah, you can kind of get a sense of the players who aren't going to play against the Browns, considering that Ben, Pouncey, and Watt haven't practiced for the last 2 days for non-injury related reasons. Stands to reason that those guys definitely aren't going to play against the Browns. Not confirmed, but I certainly can suspect that. Although Cam Hayward did practice in full, and I really hope they don't play Cam Hayward in this game because the dude deserves the rest. But to circle back, yeah, Chris Boswell's the big one here. We talked about that on Wednesday's show. What do you do if he can't go?
You don't waive anybody.
You just, so you're going Waitman? You're going?
I think so, Alex. Because I mean, we just saw what happened with Derwin Gray. I mean. Sure. Anybody?
Who would you cut? Because there's no one IR, there's no one to COVID. I mean, I don't even know who you would cut.
I mean, I guess Elliott or maybe Brooks. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, because you're probably not going to play Watt, you probably need or want Elliott up to give you enough of an outside linebacker rotation. They usually want 4 guys active, healthy.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to come up with a guy that you asked me if they did, who it would be. It would be probably one of those 2 I just named. And then you run into the risk of – look, I mean, could a guy like Elliott obviously more than likely clear waivers? Yeah, but once again, you get yourself back to only having 3 outside linebackers other than Watt. Do you want to play that game with just 3? And I'm guessing probably not, you know.
Right, yeah, that's the issue there. And so, again, to reset the stage, obviously Matthew Wright had come up the last 2 times to replace Boswell, but Wright is out of practice squad elevation exemptions. So for him to be on to kick on Sunday, he'd have to be an official member of the 53, which would require clearing a roster spot. It is true that for the postseason, those exemptions are unlimited and the rules don't apply, but that does not apply for Week 17. The rest of the regular season. So that's a difficulty there. So you could turn to Corliss Waitman, who's on the practice squad, rookie punter, who did kickoffs at South Alabama but did not do field goals. Has not kicked a field goal since his high school days. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it.
I would give him a shot.
Yeah, I hear you.
What do you have to lose? Either that or what you can do, just go for 2 every time, I guess. But and then if you did get in a long situation, if you want to throw Waitman out there to try, didn't he do some sort of didn't he do something field goal related? I remember reading up something on him that he had done something on that in the past, talking about Waitman.
According to his sports reference page in his South Alabama bio, I didn't see anything on any extra points or field goals. Maybe there was something, maybe when he transferred to Mississippi State that he did something, he didn't play there, but I couldn't find anything.
I thought I read something somewhere on him that he has that in his resume.
Okay. No, he did it in high school, but I couldn't. There was no record of him.
Maybe that was what caught my eye there.
And then with Edmonds, it's interesting. I mean, if Edmonds is down, I mean, obviously you don't want to play Minka much, if at all, in this game. But if Edmonds is down, then your safety depth could be tested. So, that could potentially impact things as well.
Right.
So who do we think sitting? We know Ben's sitting. I'm sure Pouncey's going to sit. As you said, when Ben sits, Pouncey sits. I wouldn't play Hayward. Does not sound like Watt's going to play. Is that the bulk of the group that's going to sit out?
We'll see. I think Jerry Dulac reported that he expects Hayden and DeCastro to dress. I don't see what you gain by dressing and playing Joe Hayden in this one.
Who's your right guard then? If DeCastro's down, Hassenauer's at center. Is it Isidore?
I would guess it'd have to be, right?
And then your backup lineman, I'm not even sure who your backup lineman would be at that point.
Look, I mean, they could still probably elevate somebody, but we'll have to see what happens to that aspect of it there. But
I think Coyle is out of elevations, though.
Is he?
I think he's come up at least once this year. I think he's come up twice. When they had injuries earlier this year. So you'd have to check me on that.
Yeah, I would have to double check that as well too. But look, I mean, DeCastro, I can see him playing a quarter or something along those lines, or a half or something along those lines there. But beyond that, I would get him out of the game as soon as possible. Joe Hayden, you got plenty of cornerbacks, and heck, I mean, you'd like to see a lot more Justin Lane potentially in this game, right?
Yeah, you can play Lane, you can play Pierre. I think you can justifiably and easily sit Joe Hayden, and I'm cool with that. So I do agree with you there.
Yeah, so right. We'll have to see, obviously, how many guys they elevate and all like that.
It'll be a busy Saturday tomorrow when the final roster moves. We'll come in from a Brown standpoint, as you mentioned, some COVID-related, flurry of moves yesterday. They basically activated their entire receiver room after those guys could not play against the Jets. So that's guys like Jarvis Landry and Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashad Higgins, all will play against Pittsburgh. A couple guys will not be playing, though, most notably cornerback Denzel Ward reportedly tested positive for coronavirus, so he will, of course, not play on Sunday and potentially could miss a playoff game, which could be a rematch against Pittsburgh. So that is something certainly worth monitoring. Also not playing linebacker Malcolm Smith. It really, in essence, my understanding is their top three leading tacklers will not play in this game for either injury or illness-related reasons. That's B.J. Goodson, Andrew Sendejo, and Malcolm Smith will not play in this game. So big losses there for the Browns.
Right. Who's going to play inside linebacker for them?
They got Taki.
There you go. I mean, it's going to be rough on them. This thing start turning into a preseason game right before our eyes, right?
Right. It should be on KDK with Pomp and bring Edmund Nelson back or Charlie. Give me Charlie Batch.
Look, make no mistake about it. The Steelers are going to, quote unquote, try to win the game, whatever that means. But I mean, they are going to get guys out of the game and all like that. And it's no wonder that the line. What was the line last report? Like 8 or 9, 10 points, something like that. That there's a reason to that. I would expect the Browns to win this game. It's just a matter of by how much. I really think overall, but. They will be missing some guys. And look, I mean, stranger things have happened, right? I mean, Baker didn't have his best game holding on to the football the other day to just get in. The Browns obviously won't have a full slate of practices this week. They will get guys back. They're getting their tackle back, right? Willis. This week here, but I mean they've had other issues on the offensive line as well too. Specifically, I think at guard and center there, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for them.
For sure, we'll get final injury
secondary,
report.
As you mentioned, but they're going to be missing some people in the secondary. That's pretty big.
They are, I think. I don't think Carl Joseph is playing either, so they're missing Sendejo, Joseph, and Ward, and their secondary was not great to begin with. So for Mason Rudolph, a decent matchup for his first start of the season.
Right.
And speaking of Mason Rudolph, Randy Fichtner, Keith Butler spoke to the media yesterday, and of course Fichtner was asked plenty about Mason Rudolph and how much the offense would change, and really said it would be tweaked obviously to the things that Rudolph likes best and things to work best with his skill set, but it really wouldn't change dramatically. Maybe some no huddle stuff would be a little bit different, obviously, as you would expect going from Ben to Mason, but no real changes to this offense with Mason under center.
No, you'll just I thought the big takeaway coming from some of those quotes is, and really Ben too. Go back to some of the things that Ben said on Wednesday there. The fact that, by the way, are we going to hear from Mason this week, or are they doing a good job of keeping him out of the limelight so he don't have to talk about the whole Myles Garrett? I think it's the right decision. I'm sure the media. In any other given week, non-COVID related, he would have had some microphones, in his face talking about Mason. But I really wonder if they're going to talk, if he's going to have a meet, because obviously if he doesn't have a media session today, he's not going to talk the rest of the week here. And the problem with that is, for a fact that if he does meet the media, half the damn questions are going to be about
Myles Garrett.
Right, Myles Garrett and all like that. Looks like, no, that was the holiday one. I'm trying to find...
I'm guessing he's not, because Ben already spoke, so that's the quarterback session. Mason will probably speak after the game, but I don't think he's going to be speaking before it.
I'm trying to look at it. No, he does talk today here, too.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all going to be... actually, it looks like they moved Watt up from... yesterday. It looks like the schedule says today will be James Conner, Mason Rudolph, and Alex Highsmith.
Okay. Well, then we'll hear from Mason Rudolph and get asked about Myles Garrett 87 different ways.
Right. So there you go. But back to the game plan thing. I wouldn't expect it to change too terribly much outside of, like I said, one couple quarterbacks like things different ways. We'll have a selection of plays they like better than the other. So, we'll see. But overall, I mean, you're not going to put too much on tape here.
Right. To the point I think you were making, they were talking about some of the bigger differences they've seen with Mason, Fietner and Ben both pointed to growing confidence with Rudolph, where he was a more vocal guy, more involved guy, being able to share ideas and things like that. All things you would expect from a third-year quarterback, somebody who, played a lot of football last year, can take the knowledge he learned from that and apply it to right now. So Ben said that he's seen a lot of strides, not only physically, but obviously mentally and just kind of with the confidence with Mason Rudolph.
Right.
Which is pretty big. And hopefully he can carry that over into Sunday. Anything else Randy Fietner said? A lot of it was Rudolph related. Did talk about and was kind of vaguely asked about the reports of the Colts calling out plays and kind of that whole landscape. And Fietner said, that's just a challenge that basically all offenses have to face in a world where you're playing in front of limited, or in the case of Pittsburgh, no fans right now. So, that's something that is not uncommon and sometimes overstated, where like Chase Claypool said the Colts knew the Steelers were running it on 3rd and 1, and Fietner joked and said, well, it's 3rd and 1. We generally run the football on 3rd and 1. So sometimes there's that at play as well.
All right, so people don't want me to talk about this. They get mad. So why don't you go ahead and give your thoughts on Fietner's comments on all that?
I thought it was reasonable. Nothing earth-shattering. Just talking about a challenge.
Were there any red flags in any of what he had to say?
I wouldn't classify anything as red flags, no. I think it's all makes sense. And sometimes, teams call stuff out and they just get luckier. Sometimes they call things out and they're wrong. On the touchdown to Deontay Johnson in the second half, this was Ben saying this, that the Colts were calling out, they're running the slant, and they weren't running the slant. So Ben was saying, good, I'm glad you guys think it's a slant, because we're running the fade, we're running the go route to Deontay Johnson. And so you saw that corner kind of bite a bit. Because I guess he was anticipating or thinking it was going to be a slant. And that allowed Johnson to get space to catch his touchdown deep downfield. So, defenses get paid too. They have film study and tendencies and meetings, and their coaches get paid. And in a world where, verbal cues can be picked up really easily, I think most defenses, and Tomlin said the Steelers call Colts plays too. So that's just kind of the landscape that is 2020.
Right.
And by the way, from a fan perspective, there's been some back and forth information about playoffs and fans in Heinz Field. There was a report from Jerry Dulac that there will be fans, but I think the Steelers came out with a statement saying that right now there'll only be close friends and family in attendance for the playoffs. They're still working with PA health officials to try to get the general public into these games. But based on the current guidelines that my understanding from the governor's website, even when these most recent restrictions end on January 4th, there'll still only be a max capacity of 2,500 fans, or 2,500 people, I should say, allowed at the large outdoor gatherings, which would basically be just the way it is right now: players, staff, coaches, and close family and friends. So still uncertain right now if there's going to be any actual general public fans at Heinz Field for a playoff game.
All right. What else do we have? What about anything Keith Butler may have said?
Let's see. A lot of talk about T.J. Watt, obviously, said what makes him so good, and really just talked about, his film study and his football IQ, and obviously talking with J.J. Watt and growing up in that football family. And that's the thing with T.J. Watt, Dave. I think that we don't talk about enough, at least as a public at large. Watt physical tools are freaky, but the way he approaches the game, studies the game, puts in the work, Monday to Saturday to get ready for Sunday, really is what separates him from a really talented and good player to an elite defensive player of the year type of guy.
I don't know. I'm not sure if we mentioned too. He was named the team MVP. Right. On Thursday as well too. I thought normally that happens on a Friday, but happened on Thursday, and I mean it's not a shocker, right? I mean,
right, back-to-back years for him. That's elite company he's in.
Absolutely there, and look, I mean, I think Keith Butler has said it several times when talking about Watt, talking about the way he prepares, and I think Watt has mentioned that as well too, talking about the amount of tape study and how he likes to even watch the TV tape, and you want to talk about stealing, picking up on communication and all like that. Why do you think he does that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge advantage for him to time the snap count or know what's coming, and I think probably a guy like Mike Hilton does the same. So, yeah, T.J. Watt, several times this year was talked about, he's watching more TV tape than ever to get those verbal cues you wouldn't otherwise be able to hear.
Right. and have teams maybe not including the Steelers, have teams probably not adjusted well enough to maybe some of this silent communication or more silent communication. Who knows? I mean, Ben's always been good about giving little signals, although they've been pretty hard. I mean, they've been pretty easy to pick up a lot of times.
Right.
But we don't give him we don't get on him hard about that, right? But anyway, back to what Keith Butler said about Watt, and I mean, look, they know they have an elite player there, and it goes back to why he's probably going to sit out this week. I mean, it'd be all night. I mean, at least he does lead the league currently, I think, in sacks and all like that, and quarterback hits and things along those lines. What he's put down on tape right now should speak volumes, and obviously you're not going to it's not worth him chasing any kind of records or James Harrison's 16 sacks in a single season, just to chase that when you run the risk of potentially injuring yourself there. Mm-hmm. So I don't, Watt potentially not playing in week 17 should not play into the defensive player of the year voting in my opinion there, and hopefully it won't. So we'll see. Obviously who's at the top of the list? It's Aaron Donald. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much Aaron Donald or TJ Watt at this point, right?
I would throw in an Xavier Howard, but I think Donald and Watt are the most conventional obvious names.
I mean, I guess I haven't paid too as close attention to Howard this year. I mean, obviously
he's got 9 picks, leads the NFL, so that's going to put you at least in the conversation.
And didn't Gilmore last year?
Mm-hmm. Gilmore won it last year.
Gilmore won it last year, and I guess they kind of wait. I had to go back and look at the quality of the interceptions, I guess, in there. But to me, you always got to put more value on the pass rush in my opinion. But we'll see. I think it's down to Donald and Watt at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll see what Donald does in Week 17. That could potentially change things, but obviously, I don't think one game's going to change the landscape incredibly significantly. And so Watt is certainly worthy of winning it. We'll find out NFL honors right before the Super Bowl, hopefully a Super Bowl that Watt is playing in. But the kid in me wants Watt to play to get the numbers and stat pad and all those things, but the mature adult thing to do is to sit him, and I expect TJ Watt to sit this weekend.
Boy, he gave some great answers talking about Watt, didn't he, during his press conference? And one of the things that I think I was one of the first ones to highlight on the Twitter machine after the fact that Kevin Green gave that interview to Morton Anderson a few days ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, a few weeks ago, yeah.
Or a few weeks ago before he passed, and he was talked about quite a bit about TJ Watt in there, and how he believes he should be the defensive player of the year, and that kind of thing. And Watt was asked about that just yesterday, and so many, he has definitely seen that interview now. Not surprising at this point, right? And overall, I thought his responses were great. A few of them.
Yeah, do you want to read off what some of the things he said, or do you have the quotes?
I don't have the quote. Do you have the quotes in front of you?
Yeah, I can pull up some of the quotes here. He says, quote, "It's very special. I didn't see it at the time, but I saw it the past few days. People have been sending the video to me, just listening to somebody who was the best at what they did at the time, a Hall of Fame player. It's awesome to hear someone say that. It's only my responsibility to keep up my end of the bargain and keep playing and performing. I just want to leave a legacy here, not only individually, but as a team. And a guy like that left a hell of a legacy. So to hear someone say that about you is awesome, but it's also a whole lot of responsibility that I'm willing to take on." Yeah, that is a very mature answer. You don't hear from too many. How old is Watt? 24 years old? That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it makes you kind of want to run through a wall, doesn't it?
It does.
Some of that. And by the way, if people have not heard that interview with, did you listen to all of it?
I listened to the portion about TJ Watt, and that was a fantastic find by you, and I'm really glad you're able to share that and bring light to it.
Boy, did you get a chance to listen to the whole thing?
No, I haven't listened to the whole thing. Just the
oh man, it is absolute. Boy, Morton Anderson gets. I didn't realize that Kevin Green and Morton Anderson were kind of that close together, but evidently they were obviously Hall of Fame brothers and things along those lines. But yeah, he was he a lot of emotion. I tell you, it really gets to you for sure.
Yeah, so no, thank you again for finding that, sharing that, and to hear Watt respond in that kind of manner, that mature fashion, and I think is pretty cool. And the Steelers certainly have a good player and a good person in T.J. Watt.
Right.
All right, Dave. Anything else Keith Butler said? I think that was not a whole lot of good questions for Keith Butler this week, to be honest with you. He's obviously happy to get Marcus Allen back. It does not look like Robert Spillane's going to be activated off of IR. The guy has not started practicing this week, so hopefully he can come back for the wild card game. But do not count on Spillane being in the lineup this week. Yeah,
I wouldn't count on it at this point for sure. Yeah, he hasn't practiced yet. I think in so many words, they're kind of hoping to have him back, right. For the playoffs. So we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, but at least Marcus Allen gives his team some better inside linebacker depth this week. All right, Dave, that's, I think, everything from Coordinator Corner, so we can kind of move on here through the show and start talking about the Steelers-Browns game preview. Again, the game set for 1 o'clock on Sunday. Obviously, Pittsburgh, again, sitting some of their key guys, including Big Ben. As Keith Butler said, Cleveland's playing for all the marbles here. They need a win to ensure their postseason spot. If they lose, they'll need help, most notably a Colts loss, to try to still get in to the playoffs. So look at the Browns offense. They're getting their receivers back. They got a really strong run game, of course, with Nick Chubb, who did not play in the first matchup, with Wyatt Teller, their guard, who I believe did not play in the first matchup. So how will Pittsburgh hold up against the run, which has not been as strong the back half of the year as it was the first half of the year, is usually where that conversation starts when you play the Cleveland Browns. Can you stop Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt in that run game?
And look, I mean, we could lay out. They're not going to change who they are at this point. Talking about the Browns, I mean, we're going to see a lot of the same stuff that we've already scouted earlier in the year, right? When it comes to that kind of thing. So we're going to see probably Baker on the move, and specifically, for kind of untraditional, kind of booting out to the other side, and that goes all the way back to kind of the study that we a lot of the study that we had to do in the first part of the year on opponents and those mobile kind of quarterbacks. So now they're kind of back to again going to some of these after look, you didn't have to worry about Phillip Rivers, right? Getting out on the hoof or anything like that, and a few of them most recently as well too. Now Josh Allen, just a big guy that will take off, and then they obviously against Ryan Finley learn some things with him that he could do after the fact, and probably didn't prepare properly for him. But back to Baker, they know a lot about Baker at this point.
Sure, and they know it's going to be a lot of play actions and boots and a little bit of screen game and crossers and a couple of vertical shots off play action. So can you defend, their zone game, their gap run scheme? Can you defend play action? And those are the big things that you have to handle to contain this Browns offense. If you do that, as he did in the first matchup, then you're in good position. If not, then it's going to be a long day for your defense.
Right, and they're most definitely going to run. Why wouldn't they? And not only with Chubb, but with Kareem Hunt. Both those guys can catch the ball out of the backfield. Specifically, Kareem Hunt, really, really good. They move him around a lot in that offense. Now they're not going to have Harrison Bryant, right?
Correct. He's on COVID. He's not going to play.
I tell you, that guy ended up being a little bit more impactful. How many catches does he have on the season? Do you know?
It's a good question. I don't know. I know that he's been splitting time with Njoku, and Austin Hooper was their big off-season prize. Let's see what Bryant did this year. He was a lot more impactful than what I figured he would be. Yeah, 24 catches, but also 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, okay. A decent year for a rookie tight end.
In Njoku, obviously they have, and then obviously their main tight end over there, Hooper as well too. So will they miss Harrison Bryant overall? Probably not, right? but that was just one more kind of, especially in the red zone area where he was real productive for them. I've always been a big, it seems like we say it every time the Steelers play the Browns, always been a big Higgins fan. I watched a lot of Donovan Peoples-Jones tape during the offseason and all like that. He's progressed a lot faster than what I thought he would do. He's made a lot of big plays for him, I think, averaging, especially down the field. I think he's averaging something like 20 yards or 21 yards or something like that catch. I know he's got a 75-yard touchdown mixed in there as well, too. Now, he only has 13 catches overall, but how many times this season already, this year against the Steelers, have we seen those guys that enter the game with, 10, 12, whatever catches. The kid for Washington comes to mind.
Cam Sims.
Right, Cam Sims had a big play. Seems like you go down the list in some of these games about some of these younger players, field stretchers, if you will, that have made some big plays. And obviously Landry is the guy. You go into this thing much like you went into the game against Buffalo, against Cincinnati, against the Colts. They've done a fairly good job. Not so much with who's the Buffalo receiver?
Gabriel Davis.
No, Diggs.
Oh, Stephon Diggs.
You go into these games wanting to take away those key guys, and they did for the most part with Diggs. But then Diggs came out in the second half and really got the best of them, But outside of that, if you look back against Boyd and even T.Y. Hilton, look, when
they shut down Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin in Washington,
right.
They shut him down. Yeah.
Right. McLaurin, Scary Terry as well too. What I'm getting at is they've gone into these games and done a good job outside of guys like Diggs of taking away the main guy, and I think that's the case with Landry this week. You just got to keep him from killing you.
Yeah, a lot of bracket robber coverage, especially on third down. That's where he makes his money. But you're right, there is a lot of young emerging talent vertically, whether that's Higgins, who's had a much bigger role in this offense this year, especially after Odell Beckham Jr.'s season-ending knee injury, and then Peoples-Jones, as you mentioned. I mean, his last 3 games, he's caught 8 passes for 220 some odd yards and a touchdown. So he is a field stretcher, 6'4", freaky type of dude out of Michigan, who's seems like a steal of a 6th-round pick. So if you have some backup quarterbacks in right now, and Antoine Brooks, Justin Lane, etc., those guys are going to have to step up and make big plays on the football.
Yeah, absolutely. And we ought to see a lot of the, how much even you got to play some of these guys some, right? But like Cam Sutton and Mike Hilton. But even so, I try to get Mike Hilton out of the game as soon as I can. Mike Hilton, by the way, I was a little bit caught off guard. AFC Defensive Player of the Week for Week 16. That kind of snuck up on me.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it. I didn't know what the competition was in the conference this week, but kudos to him and those dollar signs, and he keeps going up. He's just making money every single week, it feels like.
Look, Cameron Sutton, I know we're kind of shifting gears here real quick here, but Cameron Sutton and Mike Hilton, where are you now on the value of both these guys heading, as the season starts winding down?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day with Mike Hilton. Like, what is his floor? And it's still going to be, and this is his absolute floor, is like $7 million per year. I think he's going to come in a lot higher than that. You kind of base it off the Kenny Moore deal that he got with the Colts 1 or 2 years ago. Hilton's probably going to be more in that $9 to $10 million range. Sutton is harder to figure out because he hasn't been a full-time guy, but obviously he's been a valuable piece in sub-package and wore a lot of hats for this team when injuries have struck, and clearly deserves a bigger role for whatever his next contract is. So is he going to be in the $5 million range? It's a little hard to gauge that one.
How many snaps has Cameron Sutton played this year now?
I don't know the exact number, but it's been a decent amount in dime defense and then nickel, and obviously when Hilton was down, Sutton played more, and when there's been some injuries on the outside to Hayden and Nelson, Sutton stepped in. So you need a guy to fill in. Sutton's always been the guy.
Let me see if I can pull up his snap total here real quick. Why isn't that working here?
I can try to check too with at least Football Outsiders, which doesn't always totally match our charting, but it's probably pretty close. He's probably in the 300 to 400 range this year, maybe a little bit more. 494.
Okay, yeah, I found it. 494 right here, and then and he played only 265, I think, snaps last year. 20, so he's been on the field 50% of the plays, defensive snaps, 51 to be exact here, and he's going to log obviously a few more this week as well too, which will put him over the 500 mark there. Has he done enough? You know?
Yeah, he's actually played more than Hilton, which I didn't realize, but I guess makes sense. And given Hilton's shoulder injury that caused him to miss a couple of games, yeah, Sutton's done as much as you could expect from a guy playing, half the time. He's played great this year. So I don't know where that puts his value. It's a little bit of a harder situation to gauge, especially just given the financial layout of the whole league this year. But he's not going to be cheap. We're not going to sign him for $1 million. Obviously, he's going to cost more than that.
I think to me, I believe that Sutton and Hilton, they'd be foolish to take under $7 million.
And you're including Sutton in that,
huh? Sutton and Hilton.
Sutton and Hilton,
right?
Okay. Yeah, Hilton for sure. Sutton, maybe I'm less quite there with you, but I hear what you're saying.
I mean that's where I am on both of them. Look, if you look at a guy like Kenny Moore with the Colts, right, and look at his values, something around $8 million. I mean, I think both those guys would be foolish to. I mean, if you're Cameron Sutton, I mean, I get the market's the market. I mean, what's the free agency market going to look like for cornerbacks here?
Well, that's the question. How do you classify Sutton? Is he an outside guy? Is he a nickel guy? Is he a dime guy? How are defenses going to view him? Is going to help determine what his value is.
Yeah, and he has moved around quite a bit. So, but right. they do have some. Look, I mean, if there's one thing that we know, he's a sure tackler.
Talking Cam Sutton, or
right, Sutton.
Yeah, he's definitely improved there. I don't think he's obviously as good as Mike Hilton, but that's been a big leap in his game the last 2 years. And I think conventionally teams will view him as a slot corner, but it's just a little harder to peg him where Mike Hilton is obviously clearly a nickel cornerback.
And here's the thing: if you get here, do you expect either what Hilton's gone, right? I mean, you got to be in that corner now, right?
I've been in that corner. Okay. I really haven't had I mean, I would love for them to bring him back and find a way, but I don't really have any expectation that's going to happen.
So you still think there's a chance for Cameron Sutton?
I do. Again, I don't know how to gauge it in terms of the odds, and we'll see what the cap is and all those caveats we keep throwing out. But just to lose both of those guys would really be, a couple of big blows to this defense. And if you can find a way to retain one, Sutton, I think is going to be the obviously cheaper option. You have to find a way to retain that guy.
How much is too much for Sutton?
I don't know. It just depends on the contract structure and your cap space. I mean, obviously, if we're getting in the $7 million range and Hilton somewhere around $9 million, then that may be too much. So if I can come in around 5-ish, and again, this is based on structure and first-year cap hits and all those things that we have to talk about when it comes to contracts. But if I can get him for 3 years at $18 million or something like that, and have a reduced first-year cap hit, then I think I'd be willing to do that.
Hey, I don't think you'll be able to sign him for more than 3 years. I think he'd be foolish to tie himself up that long. You know?
Well, I think 3 years is because he's not going to do 1 year. So I think probably 2 to 3 years is what he's going to get. Probably 3 years.
Right. And now, obviously, if he goes to another team, it could obviously be a longer deal. Once again, I mean, you look even at what Joe Hayden's scheduled to make in 2021. His base is $7 million. Steven Nelson's a little bit more than that at around the $8 million mark in 2021. And then you look at the rest of the cornerbacks around the league and the hierarchy of the pay. Those guys are bargains, extreme bargains right now, and I've already seen people saying, and look, I even wrote it up as well too, I think at the start of the year, saying what could potentially happen as you get into 2021. This team right now only has 4 cornerbacks under contract for 2021. Obviously Mike Hilton, obviously Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, and then Justin Lane and Pierre, James Pierre. That's it. That's all you have under contract right now. I mean, can you make a strong argument right now to cut Joe Hayden to save $7 million in cap space?
You can make the argument, and many people on my Twitter timeline have, but that's generally just not the way the Steelers have gone about their business.
Right, and especially being as how he hasn't fallen off any kind of cliff, right?
Yeah, Hayden. I mean, you can see some of the athletic traits certainly diminishing, but he's not. He's having a good year. It's not a great year, but it's far from a terrible one either.
And look, if you cut him, you better have a plan in place real quick to fill that hole.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume in this scenario it'd be that Cam Sutton would become your left outside cornerback next year, or if you really love Justin Lane, but I don't think they're going to be there.
I don't think they're going to be there yet either. I think there's too much unknown about him, and obviously Pierre as well too. So the biggest, that's one of the things. I from where I sit right now, I'd be shocked if they cut Joe Hayden. I mean, it's not out of question, but I'd be shocked if they did. And then the only other question mark is can you re-sign Cameron Sutton?
Even if in this scenario you cut Hayden to sign Sutton, and then I presume you move Sutton to the left cornerback spot, you still have to fill your nickel spot. You still haven't solved that problem, so. I mean, you're just kind of moving guys around and not really actually addressing your slot cornerback position.
Right, and to get anybody of value, you're not going to get it during in free agency, either. So you would almost be resigned to the fact that if you did cut Joe Hayden and you did re-sign Cameron Sutton's going to have to play in a nickel.
Yeah, but then who's playing left corner?
It's going to have to be Justin Lane. At least until who knows? You maybe spend a draft pick and try. But this we know this team in corners, right?
Right. I mean, yeah. It's just, have you really made your team better in that scenario? You probably at best have gotten a wash out of it.
And then obviously, if for some reason you don't cut Hayden, he obviously start. This team is drafting a corner, right? True, right?
Probably. I mean, they got a lot of positions to draft, though. So, I don't know the order you want to divvy it up, but probably at some point.
All right. Well, we went way down the rabbit hole there, but I thought it was worth kind of. Well, long story short, we're going to see a lot of Cameron Sutton, I think, in this game. No way in hell I'd dress. Even if I dressed Hayden, I just have him on the sideline, break glass in case of emergency there, type situation to have bodies. And even then, I'm not sure I put him in there. You got enough defensive backs to play this game, assuming the roster stays as is right now. You can put Brooks in there somewhere.
Right.
You could do a lot if they put Brooks in a nickel, whatever, to move guys around there. But we'll see a lot of Cameron Sutton in this game.
Yeah, and I want to see a lot of Antoine Brooks who can play in the slot. I want to see a lot of Justin Lane, give him, solid play time, not just in dime defense, and maybe even some James Pierre. So I want to see these young guys play, a chance for them to get some snaps, some valuable time. A lot of guys that didn't have reps and had no reps in preseason. There was no preseason, didn't have traditional offseason program. This is a really good chance for these guys to get some valuable reps and put stuff on tape and learn from some mistakes.
What do you classify? What do you classify Antoine Brooks as right now?
I know he's listed as a safety. I call him like big nickel. Like he's a slot, big nickel, third kind of, DB, cornerback, safety hybrid. That's a lot of information I threw at you, but big nickel is kind of
right. I mean, in other words, he's he's not a free safety, right?
No. He's if he's a safety, he's a strong safety,
right?
But he's like a nickel hybrid guy,
right? So. More than anything, if we see him, which we should see him a lot, maybe we get a lot of snaps with him in the slot in this game. Hopefully,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's kind of that slot backer, the bigger version of Mike Hilton is kind of, I guess, the term I would associate with Antoine Brooks. So, and then Sean Davis, will Sean Davis play at all? He's barely played this year on defense.
I think you got to, man. I think you got to. I think you got to put him back there at the deep safety position as well too.
Jordan Dangerfield deserves some play time this year.
Sure does. Boy, I'd give him a lot of work too.
And they may. If Edmonds can't play, then there's your strong safety right there.
Right.
Dangerfield.
Right.
All right, Dave, let's talk about the Browns' defense. Good front, 4-3 front. Run defense is strong. Larry Ogunjobi is one of my favorite run-stopping D tackles in football. Of course, it's Myles Garrett. 12 sacks this season in 13 games. Sheldon Richardson, another good D tackle up front. Again, missing some key guys. Linebacker, strong safety, a lot of leading tacklers. So the linebacking core probably weak in this one. And the secondary certainly hurting as well, but that front four is as strong as ever.
Yeah, where was Myles Garrett in? How did that work out in that last game with him? Did he miss that game?
No, he played.
Did he? Okay,
I'm pretty sure. Let me double check.
Was he coming off the COVID list or something? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, he missed a couple games with COVID. I missed 2, I believe, this year. If my page will ever load here. He played against the Steelers. Played only 50 snaps. Maybe he was coming off of COVID. I'm not No, I don't think he was coming off COVID in the first matchup, but had 4 tackles, a sack, quarterback hit, tackle for loss on 50 snaps, 77% of the snaps. So, a typical Myles Garrett game.
Look, and we've seen Larry O as well too, enough to know. In fact, you go back a couple meetings ago. Maybe it was the tie game a couple years ago, but that guy can be impactful there. And you did a great breakdown on Kevin Dotson as well too. That guy's taken the left guard pretty quickly, hasn't he?
He has, and not only as a run blocker. I mean, that's been fine. The run blocking as a whole for this team still sucks, but as a pass protector, because Dotson got labeled as this mauling run blocker, and usually that gets associated with, good run blockers aren't good in pass pro, but Dawson's better in pass pro than he has been as a run blocker. He had a tough matchup with DeForest Buckner and that Colts D-line. I thought Dotson did a really nice job with his, hand fighting and hand usage, and just overall strength is really impressive.
Well, you go back to earlier in the season, that footwork of him in pass protection there. He's taking the left guard quick, and we'll see how. Obviously, you got to get him a lot of work in this game, right? And be interesting to see him get another full game here, especially with the way they stack up on that side. Because I would think, obviously they move Myles Garrett around, but they don't move Larry around as much, do they? Normally he stays on the right side of that Browns defensive line mainly, I think.
Yeah, it just depends on the strength of the front. Will he play 1 tech or 3 tech? Garrett moved around. Garrett played more against Chooks in that first matchup. We'll see this time. But yeah, with Dotson, the question is, he's playing well right now. You said he's taking to that left guard spot, and I agree. Question is, will he give it back when Matt Fowler's healthy?
I don't think so, Alex. I don't think so.
That's kind of where I'm leaning. I think Dotson's going to stay at left guard.
Throughout the season, I said that it's probably a good chance that Dotson's going to be your left guard of the future here. And, what's the old Wally Pipp? Matt Fowler there. And let's face it.
Are you calling Dotson Babe Ruth?
No, not. Look, he's got some nice tape so far this year. Mm-hmm. I'll put it to you that way. And for a guy to have to, you go back. What hit me years ago, back when the team had Flozell Adams, and Flozell, I think there was one interview that really hit me, talking Flozell about because he had played left tackle most of his career, right? Pretty much all of his career, and had been a left tackle, and then having to come over to the Steelers and play that right tackle spot. And he talked about the whole muscle memory thing. You remember that?
Yeah, it was like writing with the other hand. That was
right, and that's always kind of stuck with me, and more so with guys that have been one position guys throughout their, either their entire college career or a long time in the NFL. And when you look at a guy like Kevin Dotson, this guy played 50-something games at right guard at Louisiana Lafayette, and we're talking about, how many snaps are we talking about over a 4-year season for a college kid? What, 3,000?
Yeah, it's a really high number.
At least 3,000 there, and I could find no tape on him whatsoever on him even playing a snap or two at left guard at Louisiana Lafayette. So for him to do what he's done, is phenomenal. At left guard so far.
Yeah, really smart, hardworking guy, playing well, going to be your left guard. He's your left guard next year. He's your left guard now, but he's also going to be your left guard next season, regardless of what happens with Matt. Even if Matt Fowler resigns, he's not playing left guard. He'll play right tackle next year. Now, the question is, when Fowler comes back, does Fowler have a spot in the starting 5 at all? Do you put him at right tackle over a core 4, or do you just have him as your backup swing guy?
Good question.
Yeah, I was asked this yesterday, and I really said I don't want to make these kind of changes here in the postseason. Chooks has not been great at right tackle. It's been okay. Tough circumstances from coming off the bench week 1. But I think I just leave Fowler on the bench. And I'm a big Matt Fowler fan, but I'm just not making a bunch of changes if I don't have to.
Right.
For the playoffs. Sticking with the Browns defense, yeah, they don't blitz a lot. They're actually, I think, like 28th or 30th in blitz rate, so similar to the Colts, where their pressure's coming from their front 4. Again, secondary, we'll see how weak it is without Denzel Ward. That's certainly a massive loss. We'll see a lot of man coverage from the Browns on third down. You'll see some quarters on early downs and things like that. So on third down, they'll expect a lot of man coverage.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from this Browns game you want to review? I think they've had some. Have they had some kicking issues, or am I thinking of someone else?
No, I think you're right. I think their kicker has had a little bit of problems here.
All right, is that Parkey?
Yeah, I think it is Parkey, isn't it?
Yeah. He's bounced around. I'm trying to get my kicker straight here. And they got the Scottish Hammer at punter. Yeah, Parkey's been a little shaky the last couple of weeks. I think Stefanski gave him the dreaded vote of confidence the other day. So we'll see. That's something to keep an eye on.
Overall, defensively, I think the biggest thing with the Browns is what's going to happen at linebacker there. With them in the middle. A cornerback too. I mean, their whole secondary really. I mean, for the most part. But the pass rush, just keep Garrett off of Rudolph for the main part. That's one of my main concerns in this defensively.
Yeah, mine as well. But they got other good pass rushers too. Whether you're talking Olivier Vernon and Richardson and Ogunjobi, and so it's a tough run. And good luck, J.C. Hassenauer with Ogunjobi. I think that's going to be a losing battle for the Steelers.
We'll see for sure.
We will see. All right, Dave. I think we can probably jump to our Week 17 preview and predictions and all that stuff because this is the last time of the regular season we're doing our lines.
Yeah, and obviously no Browns beat writer today. I mean, it's a lot to ask these guys to come on multiple times with us during the season with these division guys, and with this really being essentially how would you classify this game? I mean, it's a must-win for the Browns and all, but not so much. It's just tough to get and look, we might turn around and face the Browns again this next week, and if we do, we'll get our buddy Scott Petrak back on there. So first round of playoffs, obviously, we'll have a beat writer who covers the other team on for sure. But that's why we've kind of shied away from the beat writers the last couple weeks here because of obviously we couldn't get the Colts beat writer because of Christmas and all like that. But if you're tuning in and wondering why don't I have a beat writer on today, that's why.
Yeah. Also, it's New Year's and holiday and all that kind of stuff. By the way, before we get to the predictions, I had an article up on Steelers Depot today, kind of a stat I came across. I think it's kind of cool and something we haven't really talked about too much. The Steelers now have gone 30 straight games holding opponents under 30 points. Last time they gave up 30 in a game was Week 1 of last year against the Patriots, losing that one 33-3. Since then, have not given up 30 points in a single game. Hopefully that streak holds against the Browns. Obviously, Pittsburgh sitting guys, but only the 7th defense to do that since 2000. So go 30 straight games holding the opponent under 30 straight. Or under 30 points. So kind of a cool streak going for Pittsburgh right now.
What do you think about I pulled out your old stat the other day on takeaways. Did you see that?
I didn't. Did you? I didn't. I don't think I noticed that.
I rephrased it here though now because you wrote it actually before I think the start of the 2019 season.
Right.
And I believe it was something like 26 was the magic number.
25, I think.
25 or 26 was the magic number of total takeaways by a team. And it was like 18 of the last 19 at the time or something like that. Mm-hmm. Super Bowl winners had registered at least that, right?
Correct.
All right. Well, I have revamped that stat just slightly because the Chiefs last year won it with 23, if I'm correct. And they became the second team. I believe the Patriots, in your study, was the only other team in the previous, whatever times, 19 that had less than the 25 or whatever. And the Chiefs matched that this last year with 23. So I revamped your stat for you, and I pulled up, and I'll go ahead and send you this link so you can see what I'm looking at here as well, too. Let me give that to you. Okay, I just sent that to you there. All 20, Alex, 20 for 20. All 20 of the past 20 Super Bowl winners finished the regular season with at least 23 total takeaways. So that bar I've dropped down from the 25 to 23. And here and as you can see, the list that I provided you are the teams entering Week 17 likely in the hunt to hit 23 total takeaways for this season. Obviously, the Steelers and the Dolphins have 27 takeaways each heading into the finale, so they're obviously over the mark there. But the rest of them are under that 20-25 mark. But all these teams, the Colts, the Buccaneers, the Titans, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Saints, the Seahawks, and the Rams all have 21 or more. How many of those teams are going to end? The Chiefs going to get at least one turnover in their finale? You would think there's a good chance of that, right? One takeaway?
Mm-hmm. I know they're sitting guys, but yeah, that's reasonable to assume.
And then, the Bills are another team right there. So it's probably not overly surprising that you pull up this list based on a couple years ago, and here are the teams that are all in the thick of things here. So I guess the question is will 23 once again be that magic number? Can the Saints get two this weekend? I think that's possible. Obviously, the Rams possibility of that happening there as well too. But if you want to hold out some hope for the Steelers, right? It's the fact that they've more than crushed that 23 or 25 mark.
Yeah, and that's something we talk about almost on a weekly basis, Dave, where, to be a good defense in today's NFL, you're going to give up yards, you're going to give up points. Offenses literally scored more this year than any year before, and by a wide margin, by a full point over, any past years. So you're going to need to get pressure, you're going to need to get takeaways and just steal possessions and give your offense an extra possession or two late in the game, late in the half, whatever the case is. So, to be a good defense, you got to take the football away, and the teams that are capable of doing that are usually the teams that play the best in the postseason.
I still think defense wins championships, to some degree there, and I think this stat, along with the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat, I think that those two tie together and hold a lot of water for sure. And I think when we get to the Super Bowl and move forward to this thing, I think that's something that we're going to be able to focus on, and if a team like the Chiefs does not make it to the Super Bowl this year, it's because their defense let them down in one game. I think end of story, because their defense is good this year. It's just not great, and obviously their offense does a lot. But if they run into an opposing defense, i.e., maybe the Steelers, we'll see. I mean, obviously that's several weeks off. But if they run into a defense that gives them a little bit of little bit of problem, that's the way that they don't make it to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. So, who are those teams that can challenge the Chiefs defensively? Maybe the Dolphins.
I didn't realize the Dolphins had taken the football away that much, but
27 times.
Yeah, I guess that Howard with those 9 interceptions. The Colts have a good defense. I think the Bills have an improving defense now that Trey White is healthy. Pittsburgh obviously has a defense to match up against KC. The question is, can your offense, win that potential, shootout battle? It's a short list, but certainly those are the teams that have the top takeaway numbers are probably the teams best equipped to try to handle the Chiefs, because you're playing KC. Mahomes is going to do his thing. You better just try to get a couple of turnovers and try to win a game that way.
Right.
All right, good stats there. I didn't realize you updated the numbers, but that's definitely a good stat to track and note heading into the final week of the season. Speaking of which,
real quick, moving forward now, should really and obviously it sounds like the NFL is going to go to 17 games now, right? Mm-hmm. Moving forward here, but should 23 be the high water mark now, or the low water mark, I guess would be a better word for it, in 16 games?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, maybe you could go back to 25 in a 17-game season. We'll kind of have to see how numbers look with an extra game. I wish they weren't playing 17 games. I'm still mad about that. I like it 16, creature of habit, but
I am too. I don't like it, but what does it all boil back down? What do I say in every situation? What it all boils back down to?
Yeah, right, money. For sure. Right. I know every single time in a 17-game season where I post a stat of the weird, someone's going to go, but it's 17 games. Right. And so I'm going to have to deal with that for the next 5 years. Anyway, though, 23, 25. You can't
like uniformity as much as I do. Do you?
I mean,
I'm over the
high
top.
Bar.
Right.
Yeah, but I am a little OCD with it as well.
I mean, I'm incredibly bad when it gets to that kind of stuff, or good. I don't know how you view it.
Depending on perspective. All right, Dave, let's get to our Week 17 predictions.
All right, here we go. Dallas Cowboys at the New York Football Giants. Giants at home, underdogs, +1 against the Cowboys.
So both those teams can still win the East, right? I think everyone but the Eagles are still in contention.
Is that how?
I don't remember. It's a disaster. It's a mess of a division.
Hold on, man.
Yeah, you pull that up here. Who do I want to go with in this one? Zeke had a pretty good game last week. The Giants still have Daniel Jones at quarterback.
The Eagles are out. We know that.
Yeah, the Eagles were out. Right. I think Washington, Dallas, and the Giants could all still have a path to win the division.
Right. A team getting in with damn six wins. Come on.
Give me.
That's the bad
Dallas.
thing about that. That's the bad thing about all this. And here's the bad thing: is you can have a team like the Colts who really played really well this year. You know, and now you get into a situation here where a 10-win Colts team might not make the playoffs. You know.
Right, and that's the absurdity of it, I guess. But that just happens sometimes. Either way, give me Dallas.
I'll take the Giants. I'll go on the other side of you. I'll have the Giants win this one outright. New York Jets at the New England Patriots. Patriots at home, laying 3 against the Jets in what should be the last game for Adam Gase, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Otherwise, something's gone crazy. Jets Patriots, you said, right?
Jets Patriots. Patriots laying the 3 points here.
Yeah, man, the Patriots. What a fall from grace. Give me the Pats.
Or is it? You know,
from grace?
Yeah. But just for the sheer fact that you lose the quarterback and all, and what kind of reflection is this season on Belichick?
I mean, I know people will go to the old adage of, I guess Brady was more valuable than Belichick, and I mean, obviously, there's certainly a large level of truth to that. But I don't think it's not going to tarnish Belichick's reputation.
Oh no, I don't think. Yeah. But I mean, it does say something. What happens in these next? Look, is Cam the answer for them moving forward?
No.
I mean, they're going to have to go out and get a quarterback somehow, some way, right?
They have to draft one.
But even so, even if they draft one, is Belichick going to throw whoever he drafts right into the fire? You know?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know. This is uncharted territory for this team.
Could that be a landing spot for Sam Darnold?
Yeah, there was a report, and I don't know how true it is, that Adam Gase was going to come to be the quarterback's coach. I'm sure Darnold will not go to the Patriots if Gase is the quarterback's coach there. But if that does not happen, yeah, Darnold makes sense. I mean, how does Darnold get to the Patriots? Did the Jets really trade him to New England, though? That would seem to be unwise.
I don't know. Everybody got the Steelers. I don't see how, because everybody's got the Steelers trading for Sam Darnold.
What about Dwayne Haskins? I thought Dwayne Haskins. So he's the favorite, right? Isn't he like literally the biggest favorite right now?
Yeah, to land with him. Yeah. What do you think about that? What are we? Is this going to be another? This is going to be another off season of this, isn't it?
Yes, it's going to be
every quarterback
season.
Every draftable quarterback, every free agent, every potential quarterback is going to land with the Steelers, isn't it?
100%. So get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun.
What's the most logical way? I mean, either they draft one or that's it, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not going to be Haskins, right?
No, I mean, if Rudolph were to fall flat on his face against the Browns and you felt like you wanted to get a more established veteran backup, it's not going to be a Haskins. But if you wanted to get someone on a 1-year type deal, maybe that. But it's not going to be one of these, rebuilding projects.
Where are you right now, this moment, at and maybe it changes after the game and you see Rudolph play, I don't know. Where are you on the probability of this team drafting a quarterback, the Steelers drafting a quarterback in the first or second round?
Very low.
Okay. Percentage?
5%. I mean, who are you even going to get? I mean, you're going to be picking in the late 20s, 30s. Your quarterback pool is already thin to begin with.
And you're not going to trade up for one. Costs way too much, right?
Yeah. It's very, very low.
And second round? I mean,
still the same, because even then, usually your first round guys go in the first round. Usually there's a gap between the first tier and the second tier guys go like third, fourth round, like Mason did. So probably not even in a position where there's talent available that would make sense.
So if they drafted any quarterback, it would if they draft a quarterback, it's either going to be like third or sixth round, right?
Probably. But he would get, for me at that point, the odds of that guy succeeding is very, very low. So it's not even worth draft. My philosophy has always been either you draft one in the first round or you don't draft one at all. Because the success rate after that is so minuscule that it's usually just the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
All right, I just say that because it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Patriots. You can see them maybe Bill loves to will and deal those picks, right? So I don't know if he'd be able to get himself up to get. Well, he's going to be in good shape to get potentially one of them, right? With the wins that he has.
Yeah, I mean, are we picking top 10? They're going to be the top 10, aren't they? Draft pick wise, I don't know where they're at.
I haven't looked. All right, Patriots laying 3 against the Jets.
Yeah, give me the Pats.
Give me the Pats as well, too. Vikings at the Lions. What's going to happen to Matthew Stafford next year?
That's interesting. Yeah. Is he going to be done there in Detroit? Stafford's, he's a tough guy, a really tough guy. Been through a lot.
Does he land with the Patriots to be a one-year groom for whoever they draft?
That's interesting. Now that I think is a possibility. Give me the Vikings in this one, but that's a very good question about Stafford.
Vikings are laying 7 on the road, so you're okay laying 7 on the road against the Lions.
Yeah.
I will do the same. I'll lay the 7 on the road against the Lions there. Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Falcons have played well overall since the coaching change there. Is that going to be enough though for the interim coach to keep his job? Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Bruce Arians says they're going to play to win this game. Do you believe him? They're laying 7 at home against the Falcons.
So the Bucs have nothing to play for? I have not followed playoff implications over there.
There is some semblance of a better seed or something, I think, that he's claiming that they're going to go after.
It's a Pittsburgh situation, 2 versus 3 kind of deal.
Yeah, but they're wild card, though, right? The Bucs?
Oh, yeah, because the Saints won the division.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I've not followed this stuff closely. Then, yeah, they're probably going to play for it if they're playing wild card seeding type stuff.
7 points.
Yeah, Raheem Morris has done a really good job over there. That defense has totally transformed itself since he took over for Dan Quinn. Give me I do this every single week, and I'm wrong most weeks, but give me the Falcons to cover. Bucs to win.
What's that? Ron. What's the weatherman? What's his character?
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, Ron Burgundy. I don't believe you. When talking to Arians, I don't believe you. So I'm not convinced. There's too much to lose in this game. I think the Buccaneers win. I'll take the Falcons to cover. Give me that +7. Baltimore Ravens laying 13.5 on the road against the Bengals.
Brandon Allen's been playing better. Not that he's the answer. Obviously, you got Joe Burrow coming back, but Allen's done a decent job. I think the Bengals cover this one.
I don't even think this one's close. Baltimore's got to make sure they do what they need to do in this one. So give me the Ravens to lay the 13.5. What a huge line. Jaguars at the Colts. The Colts in a situation where they need to win, and I think they got to get somebody to lose in there. Laying 14 on the road against the Jaguars.
Oh, that's a big line
That is a
well.
big line.
Glennon, though, starting for the Jags. Give me the Colts.
I just think that Colts defense is just going to be more than enough in this one. Give me the Colts to lay the 14 on at home against the Jaguars. Green Bay at the Bears. Bears +4.5 at home.
The Bears have been playing better, but they're just such a weird team, hard to figure out. They can't make any sort of. Are they in the playoffs? I don't know what's going on in the NFC this year. I just have not paid enough attention.
Let's see.
Are they in the mix?
They are 8-7, and seed-wise, entering this week, they are the number 7, so they have a lot to play for right now.
On the bubble. Either way, Green Bay to me is one of my favorites for the NFC with Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. Oh, they did just lose David Bakhtiari.
Sure did. What a big blow during practice, man. Oh,
big blow for sure.
You make it all the way through all this COVID crap in games, and then you tear your knee up in a practice.
And he just got an extension, I think, last month, didn't he?
Did he?
I think so. I want to double check that because I want to be wrong about that. So, it's like Ronnie Stanley. He just got an extension, then he, blows out his knee. I don't know if I can find that or not, but either way, give me the Packers in this one.
Give me the Bears to win this one outright. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Bakhtiari signed a $105 million deal in November 15th.
Give me, like I said, give me the Bears plus the 4.5. I think they win it outright. Tennessee Titans on the road against the Texans. Titans, another one, need to win. Laying 7.5 on the road against Houston.
Yeah, I think Vrabel's going to have his guys ready for this game and what it means. Give me the Titans.
Give me the Titans late at 7.5 as well, too. New Orleans Saints on the road at the Carolina Panthers. The Saints laying 7 against the Panthers on the road.
Yeah, no Mike Davis, no McCaffrey. Give me the Saints. Real quick with the Texans, you see J.J. Watt's comments. Very uncertain what his status is going to be for next season.
I mean, and that's understandable too, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the amount of money and his age and all like that, and comments that he's made. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in a different uniform.
And there'll be a lot of Pittsburgh chatter with that. Not that's realistic, but you'll be hearing about it.
I mean, I don't see how you. I don't see where you play him. I mean, obviously you could find a way to play him. Don't get me wrong. But what's he going to want to make?
Yeah.
You know, unless you can get him to play for $1 million, you know, the minimum, which for him I think would be $1.075 million, which he's not going to play for that. I mean, it's all great in theory and looks good on a T-shirt and all, but I mean, you have Stephon Tuitt, career high 10 sacks this year. You just didn't they just do a restructure with him? I mean, he would have had to have fallen flat on his face this year to get cut. Talking about Tuitt, and he did not do that, obviously. So, I mean, once again, that's going to be something we're going to talk about all offseason. I have to field questions on about J Watt, but there's just no feasible way it can happen.
No, yeah, it's not going to happen, but it's fun to think about, and Steeler fans are certainly having fun with the idea.
Did we do Saints Panthers there?
Yeah, I picked the Saints. I don't think you picked the game yet.
I'll take the Saints late of 7 there. Seattle Seahawks on the road against the 49ers. Seahawks favorite on the road, 6.5 points.
I'm going to say Seattle wins, but the 49ers cover, as those games are always pretty close.
I'll take the Seahawks to cover that 6.5 on the road against the 49ers. The Raiders playing out the string. Is John Gruden overrated? Who's the general manager? Mike
Mayock.
Yeah, Mike Mayock. How do I forget that? Is that tandem overrated?
I don't know. I have a soft spot for both of those guys.
I do too for Mayock, but from the draft coverage end of it, that don't make you a great general manager.
No, I know, but I'm terribly biased in trying to answer this question and be critical of those guys.
What about Gruden? What about Gruden alone?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't. I mean, for a guy that got a 10-year mega contract, I mean, you want to see results, and no playoffs again for this Raiders team. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I think this part of his career, I think he's overrated. He better have this team competing in 2021, or that might be it for him. To be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders on the road against the Broncos. Raiders laying 3.
Yeah, give me the Raiders.
Give me the Broncos. To win it outright. Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. Arizona laying 3 on the road against the Rams team who's starting who?
God, who are they starting? Is it
Warford?
Warford, yeah, the kid from Wake Forest, and like they signed. Well, where's Blake Bortles? Is he with the Rams or is he with the Broncos? He got signed off someone's practice squad. Yeah. Give me the Cardinals.
Give me the Cardinals as well to lay to 3. Washington
and no Cooper Kupp either for the Rams.
Right,
he's on COVID. So
Washington football team on the road against the Eagles. Washington laying 2.5.
This is our night game we all get to enjoy. Give me Washington.
This is a stone cold lock of the century of the week of 2021. Lay the 2.5 with the Washington football team. That defense should be plenty, I think, in this one. Okay, that brings us to the Steelers at the Browns. Right now, that line is Cleveland -9.
I have the Browns winning this one and covering, but barely, 26-16. See a lot of field goals being kicked in this one with whatever kicker Pittsburgh decides on, I suppose. Just the Browns playing with all their guys, they're playing with the full deck. They know how much this game means to them. And Pittsburgh obviously going to be sitting Ben and certainly others as well. And just kind of have the mentality of let's just make sure we're ready and right for the postseason. So Cleveland winning this one 26-16.
I have it. I was on a podcast. I forgot to write the score down. I was on a Browns podcast earlier in the week, and I had the Steelers covering this but not winning it, obviously. I think I told them 23-17, I believe. 6-point game there. I do have the Browns winning this outright. They have to win it. They better win it, or boy, they might be in trouble. Obviously, I think they can make the playoffs if other things happen there.
The Colts would have to lose to Jacksonville.
Okay, so in other words, it's win. They got to win, right?
Essentially, if they win, they're in. If they lose, their chances become pretty small. They can still make it, but the chances are rather small.
So I had the Browns winning this. Like I said, 23-17.
All right, good deal. How do you think Mason Rudolph's going to play? He's going to play all right, or is he going to be a disaster?
I worry about. I just worry about the protection for him there in this one. Not having a center and all like that. I think we're going to get a good look at him. So obviously they're not going to win the game. So what does that tell you? They're going to have to score some points to win this game.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. Pocket presence for Mason. That'll be the biggest thing. And you're right, with a backup offensive lineman in a couple of them, that could be an issue. Although he'll have Villanueva against Garrett. He'll have, a couple of guys. Thornton's going to play left guard. So the line's not going to be total backups, but obviously missing Pouncey, potentially not having to Castro in there much or at all, will impact things.
But my biggest concern, too, maybe this thing's close in the first half, and then, second half, you get some of those guys like the Castro out of there, and that's my ward. That's where I think the hubcaps can come off the car as it goes over the railroad tracks here.
Gotcha.
But we'll see.
Right.
Look, I mean, Thomas says not grading it on the curve and all like that, and as we said earlier in the week, this is that kid's Super Bowl, man. He's got to make a lot better impression from really where he left off at. And I know you're not a big fan of counting that Jets game in his favor. Just talking to you over the course of the year here. Really I think you view his left off point as being against the Bengals when he got benched, right?
Well, it's not that I don't count the Jets game. I just don't want to let one half a play, be the driving story for the entire season that was overall pretty poor. I mean, it was a good note to go out on, but I don't want to make it more than what it was.
All right. So big game for him, obviously. If he plays well, good for him. But we'll talk about it on Monday. All right. What else do we have here? Let's. You ready for some emails here?
Yeah. Let's get to some 2021 reader emails and close out today's show.
Bryce says, as it stands right now, who's the best coverage inside linebacker on the Steelers?
Of guys active, I mean, does Spillane count? I guess he's not active, but I'll go Robert Spillane.
I would as well too, and I told you that might be a plus of his heading into the season here. That he might be better than what people. Now look, can you upgrade from that? Obviously, but
this is relative to Vince and Avery, and I'm not counting Devin Bush in this group.
Right,
obviously Bush is the best one.
Right. Right. We're not counting Bush in this. This is a Spillane. That's where I'm at, too. So when I watch our offensive line, I know we like to pull the guards, but since we do have some athletic guys up front, why do you believe the Steelers don't try to run more zone blocking scheme out of the old Denver Broncos? I'm assuming he's meaning more kind of outside zone and all like that.
Yeah, because they run inside zone. Outside zone, I mean...
They didn't even do that when Munchak, they didn't even do that when they had the opportunity couple 3-4 years ago and a younger to run more outside zone. They just didn't. They've never been a big outside zone blocking scheme team.
Yeah, and most teams in the NFL don't run a ton of outside zone if they run any. So usually you have to have a really athletic line and really explosive back, and those pieces just aren't there. And sometimes if you're stringing that play out wider and longer, more risk of getting penetration and negative runs and things like that. So just not really been in the Steelers' wheelhouse.
Man, since I've blogged about this team since 2008, Alex, Man, has there been 50 outside zone runs?
It's a good off-season project for you.
No, that's not.
I know. That'd be madness. That would drive you to madness. I don't know. Probably not. I mean, maybe, but not a lot of them.
Not 100 though, right?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be 100.
I mean, they just have not been an outside zone team. Number 3, I know Steeler Nation loves to talk about the fullback, but considering his physical nature, i.e. his work on special teams, should the Steelers consider using Benny Snell more in a fullback type role with that pony set? Nah.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that.
Yeah, I don't know where you come up with that one from, Bryce. Let's see here. Moving forward into Shrikant. Doesn't Shrikant show up on a lot of our live stream chats as well too? Narsium. I just butchered his name. That name sounds familiar. Enjoy the podcast. I've got a 4-month-old, and you guys get me through a lot of early morning feedings. Well, we got that going for us here, Alex. Dave is potentially the worst. This is Dave Damashek, I think. Because it says revoke Damashek Steelers credentials unless Shrikant thinks I'm Dave Damashek, which I don't know how you confuse the two. Dave is potentially the worst representative of his home team ever. In parentheses, he says Patriots have Simmons, Charlotte, Cowboys have Sal. I'm lost here. I guess Patriots have who's the Simmons radio guy?
Bill Simmons?
Bill Simmons. And
okay.
I don't know who Charlotte is. Cowboys have Sal. Okay. Anyway, case in point, his defense of T.J. Watt was horrible. T.J. Watt has more sacks, than anyone in the league. He's got 7 pass deflections. Goes through all the stats here. He arguably should have won last year. His numbers were even better. Disgusting display by Dave. Steelers Nation deserves better. Dave should be ashamed of himself. Can Joel represent the Steelers from now on? Love the podcast. Only hope Dave can. I don't know if somebody got the wire. I don't even know what he's talking about here. I'm guessing Dave Damashek on the NFL Network was on something. I don't know, picking defensive MVP. I don't know, Shrikant. I don't know what you're talking about. If you can send me a video or something along those lines here. Dave Damashek does a good job. He's, to me, overall, Dave Damashek's more homer than he is anything, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't listen to a lot of them, to be honest with you. I've never had a big problem with them. I have no idea what the context of this question is. I haven't heard whatever comments you're referring to. I just can't get over the fact that we're apparently some sort of lullaby for a 4-month-old. You and I never really thought our voices had that impact.
Boy, that scared the hell out of it when mine, right? I mean, get that damn baby gonna have night terrors listening to me. Damn baby gonna stutter too. Let's see here. Someone has something about Dave's wisdom here. It's a lot of praise for me, so that will not be appropriate.
Read it, please. I didn't sit. No, come on. Read a little bit of it.
It's not appropriate for this show. No. All right, from Todd. Dave, you are the most brilliant, informed, and objective journalist I've heard. There's a long paragraph here. Should I continue on? I mean, people are going to be throwing up hearing that.
Oh, they love. Someone wrote it. They want to hear it. Read it.
I respect your insight, integrity, and complete understanding of the Steelers organization in every aspect: salary cap, roster, transaction, etc. I was one of the many who posed a question regarding Randy Fichtner and play calling questions. My intent was in no way to criticize or attack your stance, but more to get beat on your assessment of his overall body of work the past 3 years. I respect the fact that you take emotions out of the equation and look at hard facts. I have respect for your take than other beat writers who typically are homers and love everyone and all players. Conversely, the fans all want Fichtner, Ben, Tomlin, and Butler fired. The reason why they don't want Butler fired is because they want Randy fired right now, because the defense has played well. And why shouldn't the defense be playing well right now? They damn sure better be playing well with all that pedigree on it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Anyway, sure. I digress. I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle, and I simply was curious as to what the assessment is because of your objectivity. You're handling your handling of these questions during the last podcast was very classy and well done. I don't know if you'd classify it as that, Todd. Don't stop being who you are. It's why the Terrible Podcast happens to be everybody's favorite. You and Alex compliment each other well. That probably might be the most important comment of the whole question there. Work incredibly hard, and we all love your insight. Look, I have given Alex, people really take into account what Alex says and his objectivity too. So, don't put this all on me. I wanted to make sure I've given Alex plenty of floor here with the whole Randy Fichtner thing here. And no, I'm not related to Randy Fichtner. I watch a lot of tape, all right? And Alex does as well too. We have a lot of charting that gets into where players line up. The only thing that we don't do that we probably should start doing at some point is doing more charting of route combinations overall. Of who runs what runs what routes out of what formations and all like that. However, Alex and I, there's not a lot we haven't seen when it comes to this offense and route combinations out of different formations over the years. Look, do the Steelers reinvent the wheel offensively, Alex?
No, they do not.
Have I ever accused them of reinventing the wheel? I'd like to see the wheel.
The wheel. I was just going to say that, yeah. You want to see the wheel.
But could the offensive play calling design be better? I've said that all throughout the entire process. Randy Fichtner's not going to any kind of Hall of Fame when it comes to play calling and play design. However, a lot of what they are running still is stuff that's been in the playbook for how long, Alex?
Yeah, for a while. Obviously,
going back before Randy.
Yeah, in the Haley age, yeah. The offense schematically has not changed dramatically from Haley to Fichtner, and obviously the common thread there is the fact that Ben's still your quarterback.
Right. How much, especially in a COVID year, all right, let's talk about this a little bit, especially in a COVID year here, how much would you expect to change versus what this team has done, let's say, the last 2 years? And like it or not, Ben's very stuck in his ways as well, too. You've got a pretty thick playbook already in there. And then with all the COVID and practice and OTAs and stuff like that, it's not, have they added enough wrinkles? I think the argument can be made that they haven't. Okay. As much as probably much. You get where I'm going with this? I don't know what people expect him to do. And look, Ben's always going to be more comfortable running more no huddle than anything that he runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's not new.
Right. To the idea of, the difficulty of the COVID year. I understand that, but obviously you can, and they did add new stuff. They added a lot more emotion and, wrinkles in that respect.
And that hasn't gone well overall.
No, yeah. But it's been added is the point. To me, it's less about the schematic overall changes, just having a better plan of attack with the plays that you already have. And that goes back to, slow starts and the opening drive failures that this team has had. That is a reflection on players, of course, but also I think an increasing reflection on coaching and just bad plans. And that's the number one thing I want this team to get better at, and specifically talking about Randy Fichtner.
All right, so we'll see. There is no happy ending for Randy Fichtner here. None, No,
not unless they win a Super Bowl and their offense.
Not even then.
Probably not even then. But that's been the MO for every OC of the last 20 years. Is no OC's been well liked. Who is this question we've been asking you for a couple weeks? Who is the better coordinator, Keith Butler or Randy Fichtner, in your opinion?
I really think they're both equal, to be quite honest with you.
I'm making you choose.
Huh?
If you had to choose.
I think obviously Butler would be, but it's going to be results biased, obviously, in that as well too.
Sure.
Yeah. But you were calling for Butler's head.
I did.
12 months ago or how
before
14 months ago
after the 2018 season.
All right,
I think he did a really bad job, and then obviously things turned around and egg on my face and all that. I think Butler has improved things, and obviously again though, as you said, I mean, they have just thrown every single investment into this defense. So this defense better play well whenever you have a defense almost entirely full of first-round picks and big contracts.
My defense for Keith Butler would be the damn defense better. Some things can work. Some things are better off. Don't fix what isn't broken.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing there. I mean, you're able to do things with four. It all boils down to personnel, man, and talent there. You're able to do a lot more things if you can create pressure with four guys, period. The further I go back and the time that I get to go back to kind of the later years in the Dick LeBeau era, okay, those bad seasons, where you're still making it to the playoffs, but you run into the Brady's and he just rips you apart and all like that. They didn't for a couple of years at the end there. They could not get pressure to save their life with four men.
Right.
And then if you're having to continually design to come up with ways and guess and fire X and all like that, just to get pressure with five, you're going to get picked apart. In today's NFL, to be a good defense, you have to be able to get pressure with four. Plain and simple. Even if you're able to create outside of with five or more, be creative to get that pressure, it's gonna catch up with you sooner or later. That's something that I've learned over the years by going back and studying stuff that LeBeau's done versus the things this team's done since, i.e. What and make no mistake too, a healthy Tuitt helps. Cam Hayward's just out of his mind. Bud Dupree becoming Bud Dupree 2019, 2020 has helped tremendously. Look, the only reason, let's not kid ourselves, the only reason the Steelers were in the talk of maybe making the playoffs in 2019 was because of that defense. End of story. That's it. That's the story. It's not Duck. It's not anything. It's the defense there. Going back to the offensive side of football here. Goes back to what I said about Randy Fichtner. There is no positive outcome here for Randy Fichtner at all. Period.
Well, sure, but putting that aside, because narratives are what narratives are, we have no control over that. I think the thing with Fichtner, and I'm going down a rabbit hole, and I apologize for that, is with Fichtner, because the way I look at coaching is the design of coaching is to make players better, to maximize their skill set and the high weaknesses. And is there any one player or position group where you feel like Randy Fichtner is maximizing that group or getting more out of that group than another average, nameless gray face, to steal a Tomlin term, would? Is there a group where Fichtner, is making that group noticeably better than what they might be if another coach coached them? Because I struggle with that answer. I struggle to find any position or player where I feel like, okay, Randy's really maximizing this guy's skill set and potential.
Here's the thing, and I was just looking back on this morning, going back to next gen stats, and 2018, because how many times, time and time again, have we talked about how this short passing game isn't anything new when it comes to Ben Roethlisberger? In fact, it's something, man, I wish I don't know what I did with that link all of a sudden here. I had it open because I was just looking at it this morning, wanting to double check some next gen stat figures here. Hold on a minute here, and I'll tell you with depth of target and all like that here. Hold on. And we're going down a rabbit hole here, but people can relax.
It's an interesting discussion.
This year, all right, and Roethlisberger's done for the regular season now. So these are final numbers here per next gen stats. His average intended air yards this year was 7.1. Okay? Which ended up being a lot better number than what it looked like it was going to originally maybe start out to be. All right, Jared Goff, for comparison purposes, and I don't know what people think about Jared Goff, and it's not really my main concern, but just for comparison purposes, Jared Goff was 6.5 average intended air yards. All right, you want to talk about dink and dunk? That's dink and dunk, and that's from a brilliant offensive mind in Sean McVay. Or is Sean McVay overrated? And they got some great talk to me about that. What are your thoughts about the Rams offense right now, this minute?
I don't have a ton, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't really watch them, but yeah, obviously
what is your overall overarching thoughts about McVay the last 2.5-3 seasons or whatever?
I mean, I like him. I think he's a really smart guy with like a graphic memory. But I think obviously, sometimes we put these coaches up on a pedestal that they really just expectations they won't be able to reach. And like he's the next, Belichick type of guy. He's probably not. So, I don't think he's at quite that level.
But is he? Who's the most brilliant offensive coordinator right now in the NFL? If top 3.
That's a good question. I mean, he's obviously part of that conversation. I really just love what Kyle Shanahan has done over in San Francisco. He might be number 1 on my list.
And that guy used to be the butt of all the jokes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I've made. You could probably research my Twitter feed for Shanahan jokes.
Well, that was the whole 28-3 thing, right? When they didn't run the ball in the half.
I'm talking even before then.
Even before that. Yeah. I mean, that's life of being a coach. I mean, they ride these roller coaster waves that we love and we hate them.
Right. So, but where are you? Where does McVay? Is McVay top 5 brilliant mind offensive coordinator? Where's McVay in there? Okay, if Shanahan's number 1, who's number
McVay's
2
probably,
and 3?
I don't have a list.
Bieniemy's up there right now, right?
Yeah, Bieniemy's doing a great job.
Or is that Andy Reid?
Well, it's both. I mean, it also helps when you have Patrick Mahomes. It makes life a little bit easier. But even more than that, obviously they're able to match scheme and talent. You can put Reid / Bieniemy and McVay and Shanahan. All of those guys to me are tops.
All right, back to the numbers here. Ben this year, 7.1 intended air yards. Completed air yards, 4.6. So what that means, folks, if you're listening, if you're struggling with what I'm talking about here, it's the average distance past the line of scrimmage that Ben is completing a pass, okay? 4.6. Goff is 4.8. So Goff has a little bit lower intended air yard distance, but he has a slightly 0.2 yard differential in completed air yard distance. Both of them are under 5, okay? Here's something else that you might find quite amazing, all right? Aaron Rodgers' intended air yard distance on the season is 8.1. Is that surprising, yes or no?
No.
His completed air yard distance is just 5.5. Is that surprising?
Maybe a little bit more so if I'm reading the numbers right. Is that your gauge of it?
I'm a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm
surprised it's not 6 or higher.
Right, because the 8.1, the difference there is a bigger contrast than I would expect from an 8.1 versus 5.5.
Now, in comparison, Mahomes 8.5 intended and 6.3 completed.
Okay, so a little bit tighter split there.
Right, and I'm not so much concerned about the difference between the two as I am the overall numbers. So Ben doesn't complete balls down. What that tells me about Ben's numbers is Ben's had problems for whatever reason completing the football down the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it's his own decision making, now is every throw that Ben makes during the season, is that by design that the ball goes right where it went? People have this general idea that Ben threw incomplete 28 yards down the field. That was the design of the play. The whole entire design of the play was to go deep down. Now, do you take intended shots like that? Yes. But I think people get caught up in the results bias end of it. You see, better describe what I'm saying.
No, I do. Yeah. Where the ball goes is not always the original intent of the play. It's based on coverage. It's based on progressions and reads and what's available, how defenses are playing it. So just because you threw it to, that receiver doesn't mean the play was designed to go to that receiver when you drew it up.
All right, let's back up here because it's late in this thing, and I'm going down a rabbit hole here. 7.1 yards intended air yards for Ben this season. 4.6 completed air yards here. Let's go back to 2018. 7.7 intended air yards, which is slightly more than his this year, right?
Yes.
And his completed air yards was 4.8.
Okay.
So slightly more.
Slightly more. Okay.
I mean, people are acting like, all this is new, and I've said it forever here. Like it or not, part of the problem has been running an offense when he's not in 2 minute or hurry up. Does that make sense?
It does, but just to go back to my original question of who does Fichtner make better was what I'd asked. And is this evidence that Fichtner's making Ben better, or is this against? I'm not entirely sure how to process this.
Well, I mean, when has Ben at his best has always been Ben extended to play.
In the early days, yeah, obviously got to a point, in the last couple of years where he couldn't be that guy anymore. That wasn't sustainable.
I mean, what do you consider the best Ben in the last decade?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look. A couple of years ago, I guess 2017 was a pretty good year for him.
All right. I mean, look. I mean, these receivers have had some good years underneath Randy.
Yeah, they have. But do you think that if you had just a random average OC in there, these receivers would be worse or substantially different negatively if Randy wasn't? Is there something Randy's doing in particular?
I don't think. No, I don't think. Look, it goes back to defensive quality of talent as well too.
Right. Well, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, I just who is Fichtner making better as a coach in your estimation? Obviously, no one knows. These are all hypotheticals.
Obviously not the running backs, right?
Yeah, for sure. Right. And yeah, understood. So
the answer is I view it just, and this goes back to you asking me about Keith Butler and Randy Fichtner.
Mm-hmm.
Who does Keith Butler make better on the defense?
I think for sure the inside linebackers. I think a guy like Vince Williams wouldn't have nearly the success he has in another scheme. I think Butler's one of his strengths are being able to dial up some of these, four-man rushes, these safe pressures, B-gap blitzes for Vince and guys like that. And so, I think that's where the difference is for me, because at least Butler, I think, is making not everybody, but a couple guys better. For Fichtner, I really struggle to come up with any one name where I says, Fichtner's really maximizing this guy's talent or hiding his weakness or whatever the case is that makes this guy a better player. And that's what gives me the edge for Butler.
You talk about inside linebacker position there, all right? I want to honest, and look, it's still early in the process and all like that, okay? And I'm not trying to throw any deep assessment on this certain player, but has Devin Bush been? Where is Devin Bush? Where he left off at? Where is he versus your post draft expectations of maybe where he would be at this time?
I think it's pretty much in line. I think you saw him take big strides this past year, wearing the green dot, much better in coverage. Run defense still has some things to work on. He's never going to be this physical type dude the way that Vince is, for example. But I've been happy with where Bush is at in his development. I'm obviously bummed about the ACL, but before that, things are going well.
Do you think Butler has helped him in that area, or do you think Jerry Olszewski has helped him in that area?
Well, I think obviously everybody gets credit, but no, I think Butler's helped maximize those talents, bring those guys along. And just overall, Butler's pressure packages in general, I think, are really strong. Some of the corner blitzes he does, obviously Hilton's a great player to do that with, but just some of those things maximize. Mike Hilton's being maximized in the scheme because Butler's willing to blitz that nickel cornerback more than most DCs would. So things like that where I go, okay, as critical as I've been of Butler, and there's a lot of warts in his game, especially in coverage, but in terms of generating pressure and things like that, he does a good job.
Here is the biggest indictment, I think, on the Steelers, outside of obviously the opening script and starting games in the first quarter and all like that. There's no getting around the results of circling that with red ink. I mean, we've talked about the first quarter going all the way back to the Baltimore game, or maybe even a game before that or whatever, 6 points, and it all coming from a pick six by Joe Hayden. Right. The 3 and outs for the 5 or 6 game span, and I think overall like 8 or something 3 and outs on the season on opening series there. Now there has been a lot of execution problems within that, drops, i.e. and all like that. Absolutely. But you're still forced to go back and look at the results on this. Okay. The biggest other indictment that people I don't think are seeing and refuse to see is, I think, the machination between trying to get a guy like Matt Canada in there take some of this stuff and put lipstick on it with emotion and all like that, I just don't think has gone as planned. All right, I don't think it's been fluid at all. It's looked very clunky at times. I've talked a lot about how I want to see them pass off of some of this stuff. And look, do you predominantly, if you look at, because I've been kind of monitoring this around the league here, 90% of the time you're probably running off of pre-snap motion at the snap of the football, right? 80 to 90%.
Yes.
All right. But even so, you need to pass off of it occasionally, and they just have not. Little other elements like the wheel route and stuff like that. Now are you going to run a lot of wheel routes with Derek Watt on the field or something like that? No. McFarland hasn't been on the field enough to warrant that kind of stuff. Do you really want Jalen Samuels running a wheel route? I suppose, but you got to get him on the field to do that, and that's going to give people heartburn on it. I just think the overall indictment and machination problems relates to the machination of trying to bring in elements of what Matt Canada can offer this offense on top of what's already been in the playbook and been in the playbook forever. And a lot of that too boils back again to, I bet Ben's very stubborn in there in things he likes and wants to run. And I think that's why it goes back to sometimes why you see this offense only be able to move the football when they go no huddle, because Ben gets the defense to declare early and then runs what he likes.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair, and I think the motion has not been as fluid, and I totally get that. But even before this year in 2019, did you see Fichtner maximize someone's skill set or talent, even though in the quarterback situation sucked and all that? Look at the 49ers with Nick Mullins. He's playing really good ball for them in San Francisco. They've had a ton of injuries. They're still making it work and being a relatively successful team in offense. 2018, same thing. The fact is, in this conversation, we've struggled to come up with any one name.
I think he's made. I think it's a carryover from the Todd Haley days, and I know Ben bucked that as well too. But I think overall Ben's on board with it, that he's had to get rid of it. Ben cannot stand back there and take the hits that he used to take.
But as you said, Haley was the catalyst for that.
Fichtner was the quarterback's coach. Where do you divide it up at?
It's hard. Obviously, it's an impossible exercise to do it cleanly.
That's like Terrell Austin. What is Terrell Austin? What aspects of the defense? He's got a heavy say in what happens defensively. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. He's had a definite impact in terms of like ball focus, turnover circuit stuff in training camp. Focusing on takeaways. That's definitely been an asset of his.
Look, and you take away a guy like a wide receiver like Antonio Brown. Who's responsible for that?
I think AB is responsible for a lot of AB's success.
All right, so none.
But obviously, I'm just saying as OC. I'm just saying as OC 2018 to now, who has Fichtner made better? And I struggle to come up with one name that says okay.
I would say Ben overall, just from the overall time, but we don't know where to put the credit at for the short passing game innovations.
Right. I think Fichtner's furthered it. I think he's carried the baton, but obviously
Ben obviously has not gotten better as a deep ball passer.
Right, and I don't blame Fichtner for that. It's not Fichtner's fault. I don't.
The running game, there were moments there with Mike Munchak. Maybe this team needs to really, really look at getting a better run game coordinator. Maybe Sean Surratt. Look, they've got two very unexperienced guys. In how much has Eddie Faulkner and Sean Surratt maybe hurt this offense?
Yeah, I've seen some people mention the loss of James Saxon, how much it did impact that running back room, and that's a good point. I do think it's at least worth pointing out, statistically at least, in the couple of years, Munchak's final 2-3 years, this team still did not run the ball that well. I think people kind of forget some of that.
People forget that, but that's that. Good luck pushing that narrative.
Right, and it's worse now. It's abysmal. It's at rock bottom right now. But I think people think that in 2018 they were running the ball for 5 yards a pop. It was like 3.7 yards per carry. It was pretty poor numbers.
But trying to get people to
not gonna happen.
And that's like, look, none of what we just talked about for this last 15 minutes about Randy Fichtner is going to change anybody's mind, right?
No, but that was just an interesting discussion because it's a thought in my head.
Is there one position group where you say, man, thank God Randy Fichtner since Randy Fichtner came along as the offensive coordinator, I can't believe this position group?
No. But even a player. I mean, even if you reduce it more to a singular player, I struggle to come up with that. And again, there's good things.
I mean, Deontay Johnson's done a lot of good things other than catch the damn football at times.
Right. Yeah.
But who gets credit for that?
Well, yeah. The issue isn't that there's not talent. Of course, there's talent, but how much is Fichtner maximizing that talent? And you could sit there. I mean, it's fair to say, he's helped develop some of these young receivers to get them game ready. I think that you could make an argument for that. But the question would be just, would your other average Joe Schmo OC be able to have similar results? Again, it's impossible to know, but that's kind of the viewpoint I look at it. And
if you went player for player evaluation, you could make a strong argument that Juju's not as good a player as he was since Randy Fichtner became offensive coordinator. However, there's a big piece missing from that offense. And say what I think, Antonio Brown is a nutcase, all like that. That son of a gun could run a damn route. All right?
And Juju had a great 2018 with Phoenix.
Right, but now Antonio might not have run a right route all the time, but he could run a damn route. And some of the there are still things you go back, and I remember talking on podcast with Todd and all you just run out of superlatives sometimes to describe what Antonio Brown did. Now, who made Antonio Brown? Does Todd Haley get credit for making Antonio Brown the wide receiver that he became?
I mean, not again.
The answer is no.
No, the answer is no. Right. In the way that I'm phrasing the question of, had you or I been OC of the team, AB is still pretty much AB. So the coach isn't changing that course dramatically. And so to my answering no is what you're saying, and I agree.
Did Bruce Arians Bruce Arians didn't even want Antonio Brown.
Yeah, right. Scotty Montgomery takes the credit for drafting AB. Who knows how true that is? But you get my point whenever I say that Keith Butler is maximizing Vince Williams. He's maximizing Mike Hilton. That makes sense. Is that right?
I think you're giving a little bit too much credit with Vince, but okay. I mean that's your stance.
Well, I mean, in terms of a blitzer, I mean, Butler's blitz schemes are sending Vince more. And Vince is a great blitzer. We agree with that, right?
Vince is a nightmare for running backs. Period.
Right.
Would that be the case? Would that be the case regardless, though?
Well, the question is,
is Vince Williams that as is Antonio is a route runner?
No, of course not. I mean, Vince Williams is not a Hall of Fame blitzer or player, but if you were a DC that blitzed less and you weren't as aggressive in that sense, then Vince would be less impactful as a blitzer because philosophically you'd be blitzing less under maybe another DC, and Butler is a blitz-happy kind of defense coordinator. That's my point. And I just don't see that same with Fichtner with any one player. But anyway, I don't mean to go down I've taken it down a rabbit hole already, so I don't mean to go down any further.
My view overall is it all starts with talent,
Sure.
Plain and simple. And but once again, Randy Fichtner, look, there's a good chance Randy might be gone for one reason or the other after this season.
His contract is up, I think, but I still think he's coming back.
I've never seen that. Where have you seen that written other than people putting it on the Twitter machine, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's the rumor, at least. But I think Fichtner's back.
People are putting that out there, but I struggle to find. Have you seen Dulac or somebody write about that? I haven't.
I thought maybe it was in like a Bouchette chat behind a paywall that I didn't have access to. That's a fair point. I should probably research that better. But either way, I still think Fichtner's back in 2021.
You do?
Yeah. Do you don't think he's coming back?
No, I think there's a very good chance that happens.
Yeah. No, that's my expectation. I mean, I think it's Ben, as I said before, as long as Ben is here, the Fichtner's going to be the OC.
Why wouldn't he be back?
Yeah, unless they're just frustrated with the lack of success and they don't feel like the offense has reached its potential.
All right. Then if they keep him, how much does all this come down on Tomlin, or does Tomlin let his coaches coach?
I think Tomlin, especially with offense, has a more laissez-faire.
Now this goes back to the old key. I'm glad we're having this conversation. This goes back to the old who's really calling the defense.
Yeah, Tomlin's influence on the defense is much greater than the offense. I mean, Tomlin has influence on everything because he's been here for how long now? I mean, he's running the show. He hired Fichtner, obviously. But I would say that Tomlin lets Fichtner do his thing more than Tomlin lets Butler do his thing, if that makes sense.
All right, so then really, Keith Butler's really, there's no reason we should talk about him as a defensive coordinator then.
Well, no, I didn't say that because I know I pushed back on.
Well, I'm not putting this on you. I'm putting this on the narratives, Alex.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, I'm focusing less on the narratives and more on what we think because the narratives are the narratives, and we can't change those. We'll never be able to change those.
So he's a good defensive coordinator as long as he has talent and Mike Tomlin calling the shots.
Oh yeah, I mean with Butler, I don't know if good might be a stretch. I think Butler's improved. And he maximizes some specific talent. I think Fichtner is an average to below average OC who does not have an ego, but doesn't really make anyone a whole lot better. And both coaches need plenty of talent around them to make this thing work.
Okay.
That's my overall 30,000-foot viewpoint.
All right. What else do we have?
I think I wore myself out with that conversation. I think we're probably wrapping up today's show, probably coming back for Monday to talk about the Week 17 game.
All right, let's do it. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for us doing what we just did.
No, that was a good, I enjoyed that conversation. That was a good discussion.
All right. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, it's a new year. Do so. Go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. If you want just the money, if you don't want me to have the money that you donate, put in there for Alex only or along those lines there. Some people say they don't want me. I've gotten emails that say they would donate if they knew I wasn't getting the money.
Oh, that's really neat.
So if you want to make a donation, you want Alex to only have the money and me not to have the money, put in the PayPal donation for Alex only there. If you like an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, up right navigational bar. And until Monday, Happy New Year, everybody. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.